Hi and welcome to the second session of the Dads Matter course. Today we will be looking at a father's role as a protector in the lives of his children. Our aim is to explore how we can balance boundaries and independence with our children and the need to make adjustments as they grow in responsibility. We will think about what we protect our children from and how we can guide them to make good choices in life. To help embed our learning, we will reflect again on why assertive parenting is so important and how we raise our children. Assertive parenting is a style that seeks to set reasonable rules, guidelines and boundaries that are in the best interests of the child. The boundaries and rules provide structure that allows room for children to explore, test, and begin the process of learning what is and is not acceptable behaviour. Assertive parenting is also a model that allows parents to express love and affection with no worries that love and expressions will undermine their authority in the home. The underlying benefits of this parenting style include the following. 1. Children are given lots of practice in making choices and help to see the consequences of those choices. 2. Children are part of deciding how to make amends when someone or something has been hurt. 3. Children learn to accept responsibility, make wiser choices, and cope with change. 4. Clarifying issues, parents give reasons for limits. 5. Parents establish basic guidelines for children. 6. Parents teach children that taking responsibility is a high priority. And 7. Misbehaviour is handled with an appropriate consequence or by problem solving with the youngster to find an acceptable way to get desires met. And 8. Out of control children have cool-off time rather than punishment. Can you give an example of when you have used the assertive parenting style and the outcome to the situation? Feel free to pause the video to give yourself plenty of time to answer the question. Our role as a protector involves helping our children grow in responsibility, where they move from being dependent on us for everything when they are very young to becoming more confident in their abilities and surroundings. Dads can help their children to become self-sufficient, able to motivate and decide for themselves. Assertive parenting is a tool dads can use to achieve this. Please answer the question, what does self-sufficiency mean to you? To further support our learning together, feel free to pause the video whilst you do this. As much as we want our children to be independent, the reality is they will require protection from the world and themselves. It's important for dads to balance the boundaries and rules that are meant to protect our children with their needs to become more independent. Please reflect on and answer the following questions. What are we protecting our children from? What are our fears if we don't protect them? What should the boundaries look like? It is best to create specific boundaries that will help in developing your child's self-sufficiency and help you better communicate the boundary and its purpose to your child. This is important if you want them to willingly obey the rules and manage themselves. Some examples of boundaries or rules could be things like having a curfew, no running in the house, going to bed at a certain time, etc. Please complete the following activity and reflect on how rules were communicated to you as a child. How were the rules communicated to you as a child? What would happen if you didn't obey the rules? How did you feel about what happens? What did you learn? It is good to be self-aware and make sure we are not passing on negative behaviours that affected our own childhood when it comes to rules and boundaries. Dads can stop the transmission of negative behaviours from one generation to the next by finding a new and more positive way to communicate and help their children towards growing in responsibility. By changing the behaviour in ourselves, we facilitate the transition from negative to positive for our own children. When communicating rules, it is important to be age appropriate, be consistent, where possible allow choice, and adjust as required. In this session, we have looked at the benefits to assertive parenting in teaching our children about boundaries and independence. We have discussed the role of a father as a protector and moving our children towards self-sufficiency. We have explored our own childhood experiences in being communicated rules and looked at how to set fair boundaries. I hope you feel equipped to communicate rules more clearly to your children, and you feel able to adapt boundaries as the children get older. It is important that we look for those positive examples of our children displaying self-control, accepting boundaries, not being reminded, and having increased responsibility. Thanks again for joining me. Next time we will be looking at the role of a provider and how dads can help to meet their children's needs. I look forward to seeing you then. Now we continue our interview with Carl, a participant from a recent Dads Matter course, sharing his thoughts about his role as a protector. So Carl, in the second session we talked about dad being a protector and how we want to balance boundaries with independence. We want to encourage our children to take responsibility as they grow, but also we always want to make sure they're safe, we know where they are, that they feel protected with us actively involved in their life. So I just wondered what some of your reflections were on that whole topic of being a protector.
Previously, I was very, very overprotective. Wouldn't let him do very much at all.
Okay.
It's now that, yes, all right, Cameron, you can go out, play, but please be within earshot, so we know where you are. And then, children being children, they do daft things. So you say, okay, carry on, but remember, if you do that, you might hurt yourself. And yeah, 8 times out of 10, they come a gropper, and then all you've got to do is be there. Okay, right, come on, we'll just get you cleaned up. Right, now are you going to put your jeans on as opposed to shorts? Do you want to carry on with this?
Yeah.
And are you going to put on some gloves to protect your hands?
Yeah.
And yes, it's only when they've made the mistake that they then realise what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Previously, I was, you've got to put this on, you've got to do this, you've got to do that before you are allowed to do anything. And the child doesn't have the ability to do what they want. They are shrouded, covered, call it whatever you want. They just don't feel very confident in doing anything.
Yeah.
It's like being in a park and stopping your child from climbing a tree for fear they're going to fall out. The only way they're going to learn is by making mistakes. And having made so many mistakes myself, and being on this course, do I realise that you've got to give the child room to grow. You can't take them down the path and keep giving them little bits on the way. They have to make their own choices. Like I said before, being a life coach, you have to guide them, not lead them.
Yeah, that's really good, wise words, and it's all about balance, isn't it? You don't want to overprotect them, that they never have chance to try anything new themselves, but then you don't want to overprotect them you don't want to underprotect them where you give them too much freedom and then they could be in danger. So it's really that balance to say there are perimeters, but there's room for you to explore, to grow, to learn, to try new things, to grow in responsibility, which is all part of life as you progress. So well done for really taking that on board and protecting your son so well.
As I say, just make sure you've got a full first aid kit and you've done a first aid course. That way you've got no worries at all.
Again, wise words, very helpful. But well done for what you're doing and how your son's benefiting.